Welcome back to Hampton Downs. The race action continues for the Altherm 1000. The Bagnall-Pedersen Porsche chasing down the McLennan Innes Porsche. I don't think this is for position. I think the 997's about to lap the 996 as we head towards the end of the first hour.
Look, and that just highlights the difference in speed between the 996 and the 997. Bagnall going down the inside here. No, didn't make it happen.
Well, down in the pitch, Roger Davis has got disappointed Tim Martin.
Well, with me down here in the pits is Tim Martin. Tim looks like the wheel nuts come off the back of it. What's happened?
More than that, Rog. I think the rear axle's broken and caused some failures in the wheel nut and all that sort of stuff to come off. So big disappointment for the Mockbees GT3.
The guys are working under it now. Can they get something fixed and get you back out on the racetrack?
Hey, maybe they can resurrect it and get a few laps for Ian here, who owns the car. But look, it's a long shot. We're completely out of the race with having dropped this many laps.
Bad luck.
This thing's happened racing, mate.
So Tim Martin, looks like their race is over. Now here's Andrew Bagnall pitting the Life Pharmacy 997, and Mark coming up towards the first hour, probably the first of our full stops.
Yeah, we expect Andrew Bagnall to get out and then Henderson to get in. Boys will put some fuel on and away they go again.
Well, in the pits comes the Andrew Bagnall and Pedersen Porsche Life Pharmacy car, and this is actually a scheduled pit stop. Boys are putting the fuel rig in there, putting fuel into it. Andrew's getting out of the car and Ant's getting into the car, changing the tyres, and it's full regulation. In fact, I just spoke to Ant before he got in the car and they're pretty happy with the way things are going. So, like he said, he's just going to get out there and circulate and see how they go.
Yeah, look, nice and slow and methodical. We see the guy on the left front tyre here. The smoke coming off, that's nothing. It's just a bit of heat. Look, fuel guys finish, you see the bonnet getting locked up, the drivers having a chat to each other, the windscreen getting cleaned, the car's going to go down. Off they go, nice and methodical. Exactly what we expect from the International Motorsport team.
So the first of the scheduled stops for Andy Bagnall and Ant Pedersen. Here's the Heingartner Dawson Mini. Just 2 minis, unfortunately. 3 were scheduled to start, but the Malhop McNee Mini, they did some damage to a front supercharger pulley and their race was over. So unfortunately they weren't able to start as the Bagnall-Pedersen 997 comes back out on track with Ant Pedersen behind the wheel. Back on board with our second placed car, Dwayne Carter at the wheel of the Carter's V8 Supercar Ford.
Look, you just see how hard it is to look outside of that windscreen. That's the glare coming off, that's the sun. In the afternoon, that's just going to get twice as bad when the sun starts setting in the sky.
Well, we're going to cross back down to the pits with Roger Davis.
Well, a big seesaw battle at the moment between the leader, Mitch Cunningham, and the Carter boys at the moment, the two brothers. But just speaking to the Carters, and they said that their car is probably running, because they did that splash and dash early, there's a lot less fuel in that car, so it's going to get a little bit quicker. They've probably got to do one more extra stop, so like the Carters were saying, they're even now, and it looks like it could be quite interesting. But if you look at the lap times there, they're seesawing. 1 minute, Cunningham's quicker, next minute, Carter's quicker. So I think this could go on for quite some time, but remember, the Carter car is going to get faster and faster as that fuel comes down.
So let's have a look at the updated positions at the end of hour 1. The Cunningham Porsche leads from the Carter Ford Falcon. Bagnall-Pedersen in third in the 997. First of the 996s is McLennan and Innes, ahead of the Dippy Matron 996 and the short Walden Mitsubishi Evo. Further dramas here in the pits for the Davison Corvette. And Roger, is this scheduled?
They're working on the rear of the car, and if you remember, Bruce told us earlier that there was a bit of a problem on the right rear brakes, probably getting air in it. In fact, it looks like they're going to bleed the system, but looks like this could possibly be an ongoing problem for the rest of the race. Bruce working on that car on the right-hand side, and definitely, yes, he is bleeding the brakes. So again, looks like the same problem as they had earlier on in the race.
So here's the Simon Skeets Michael Modgill. Xbox 364's a Motorsport Subaru WRX. They're running just outside the top 10. McLennan and Innes working their way through lap traffic. The Goodwin RX-7. Here's Ant Pedersen. As the Davison Honda Corvette comes back out of the pits. They're certainly having their issues in the early stages of the Altherm 1000 here from Hampton Downs. So as the Carter Falcon chases down the Cunningham Porsche for the lead. Lots goes on during an endurance race. Here's Mark Pedersen with more.
Downstairs, we saw the results, which is the computer screen showing a whole lot of numbers up. How do they get there? Right here. Okay, this is the hub of activity. We've seen the teams have different things they do. This is where it all happens. these are all the lap times go through. When the cars go past, you may hear a beep in the background just then. It breaks an activation or sends a signal to here. That logs on a computer, then that gets posted in terms of lap times. Where these guys' jobs gets interesting is when the pit stops come in, or if there's a red flag. That's when you see the hype of activity. If this system goes down, they've got a manual backup, but every team is so reliant on this. This is where it happens. Let's hope these guys get it right.
Thanks, Mark. Well, Mark stepped out of the commentary box as the battle for the race lead is closing. Joining me in commentary, Timmy Martin, who's joined us with the Batterytown Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge in the Mobil 1 Super Cup. Timmy, obviously disappointed, but your guys' race is over.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately, Jamie. It looks like the half shaft, that's the piece that connects the diff of the car to the left rear wheel. The threaded end has broken. It means basically the whole left rear wheel came off the car.
So often motor racing is so disappointed, mate. There's a lot less disappointment when you can commentate, so it's good to have you back here in the box.
Oh, mate, I don't like saying this. I'd much prefer to be out on the racetrack with you, but it is nice to have a little cuddle and make things a little better up here, Jamie.
So, Timmy, we've just settled past the 1 hour mark into a 4 hour race. Some of the strategies are starting to come into play, and I mean, we've got a bit of a race on our hands here now with the Carter's Falcon chasing down the Cunningham Porsche.
That's right. These guys are in quite a big, heavy car. It'll be interesting to see how they go on their tyres over the longer distance. We know the Porsches are they're pretty strong, but also pretty consistent as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Cunningham boys can continue to push out some pretty quick lap times.
Well, I know the Carter boys were talking about 3 stops with the possibility of a splash and go with that. Now, they've done that early with that first safety car, unfortunately caused by you. There's more action down in the pits. It looks like the first of our production racing cars has made their scheduled stop. Here's Rog with more.
Well, the leading production car in here, the Grant Aiken, Grant Liston car, the 2 Grants, and it looks like Grant Liston's got in the car. He's got a lot of experience in endurance racing. They're putting fuel in the car, and this looks like pretty much a regulation pit stop. Unfortunately, with these cars here where they haven't got the air system or the overhead system to put the fuel in, takes a little bit longer to put the fuel in, but looks like they've got all that set. Grant's getting all belted. A few comments from Grant Aiken, and they're sending them back out on the racetrack.
Thanks, Roger, as the race continues. And Tim, coming back to pit strategy, as I said, the Carters were looking at 3 and doing a splash and dash. They've done that. What was the strategy for your car had it gone to distance?
Jamie, it's heartbreaking seeing these guys in the pit lane. The fuel tank on the GT3 RS that Ian and I were driving, that was slightly bigger than the other cars you see here. So potentially the way we were hoping to roll the dice, and it was working out early on, was just a 2-stop strategy. So picking up the whole time that you spend in the pits and losing that off our race time really could have put us in a good position come the end of this race.
Now, for the Premier New Zealand Championship class cars, they have to run their normal fuel tank configuration as opposed to the open class cars?
That's right. You see all the other GT3s in this race, they've got their standard fuel tanks with the addition of a dry brake fitting on the top of the tank, so that gets the fuel in really quickly. On our car, we had a cutout on the bonnet, so the guys didn't even need to open the front cover of the car, and they can dump 100 litres into that car super quick.
Well, potentially we've got a pretty good race happening here right now, still with a long time to go. I mean, your picks at this early stages, how are you looking at it, Tim?
I've got my hand on my heart Porsche-wise, and I'd definitely love to see a Porsche on the winner's dais at the end of this race. But these Carter boys, they've shown from the pit lane, they've driven through a whole lot of cars already. It's a tough one to call, but I'm going to go with the Porsche for now.
So Mitch Cunningham still with the race lead, chased by Dwayne Carter in the Carter's Falcon Supercar. 2 very, very different cars. Let's take a ride with Dwayne Carter.
And man, he's got some traffic to fight with. I can tell you from being out on the track just a few minutes ago, the traffic, the speed differential really is quite interesting. I did my maths before the race, Jamie. It's actually a very similar concentration of cars per kilometre. It's very similar to what we face at the Nürburgring, about 8 or 9 cars on the track per kilometre. So it's quite busy at times. You really do have to be patient with the gaps that you're picking out there.
But that's half the fun of an endurance race, is going through the slower traffic.
Oh, exactly. Look, in the GT3, we're passing most of the other cars on the track. So you're always passing guys, and it's a really thinking driver's race to work out whether you put your nose in there. Has the guy in front seen you, or do you need to be patient and pick a gap, maybe hold off for a corner?
Well, the pit stops continue. The Lindsay Goodwin, Dave Goodwin RX-7 is in the pits. Here's Rog.
Well, in comes the RX-7 of the Goodwin father and son combination. Looks like this is fairly regulation. They're putting fuel into the back of their car with the dry brake system. Having a quick look under the bonnet, but I don't think there's any issue. This car's been running like clockwork all race. So looks like Dad's got in the car and a few instructions there from Son, and they'll be out on the racetrack again very shortly.
Thanks, Roger. Well, Timmy, we can probably let you go now. Thanks for coming into the commentary box, and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
I'd love to be behind the wheel, Jamie, but instead, hopefully your cameras aren't pointing up to the apartments here at Hampton Downs, because I think I might be off for a cold one or two.
Oh, thanks, Tim Martin. Don't go away. We'll be back with more from Hampton Downs.